it's basically telling you how this data was collected. It's a questionnaire-based cross-sectional survey. We'll look at the study design of cross-sectional survey in the next couple of slides. And then if you look down where it says that study variables were measured on 5 points Likert scale with weighted average. So it just goes to tell you about how this data were analyzed. And then choosing your research method, you are whether you are collecting qualitative research or whether you are collecting a quantitative about a particular issue or to gain insights on how they feel about a particular issue. For instance, there was a study published where they were asking them, and also qualitative research is used when you can't exactly quantify the parameters. For instance, in most cases, it might be difficult to quantify people's opinion. For instance, there was a study that was conducted among patent medicine cause malaria. What do they think causes malaria? So most of them were answering that malaria is caused when someone is exposed to sunlight, and most of them were also saying that most of them did not really understand what causes malaria. So most times people engage in qualitative because it helps you to like gain understanding of what people feel about a particular scenario. It can give you like a deep about what particular set of people feel feel about a particular issue, rather than when where quantitative research may not really help you. Qualitative research can go a longer way because it helps you to like gain a very deep understanding about people's feeling on a particular topic. Whereas quantitative research helps you, it involves collecting data and analyzing data to observe most times trends in for instance, if you are engaging in a research on analyzing students knowledge, perception, and student knowledge, attitude, and perception about antimicrobial resistance, or about antimicrobial misuse. So the data you are going to collect will help you to analyze trends. As students, maybe we want to compare the knowledge of students in first year to students in final year. So it will help you to like observe the trend in their knowledge. But if you want to gain a deeper understanding about whether how much more, how much does people in first year know about antimicrobial resistance, if you want to a deeper personal reflection of how those individuals resistance in that kind of scenario, qualitative research will than quantitative research. So, and qualitative research has like many different techniques that you can use to collect data for qualitative research. So they are quite bigger than this, but I just
No.
quality
Okay. Okay.
data to the description how anti affects or they have basic knowledge about can gather them you know that people on people that even with ability. So and then this is questions to seek their opinions about antimicrobial resistance. You know that implementing like medical data about understanding of antimicrobial resistance and the rest. The information they are getting is directly from their own opinion, from their whereas in research of undergoing quantitative research and mostly done, especially in the academic realm, is to research where we go to the conduct some experiments using some rest to know how much variables relate to each other, how they conform to each other, how they affect other. It's observational. It could be that you are monitoring some parameters in some individuals. So we are also going to look at that at the observation. Emmanuel, please over to the next slide. Okay, yes. I know most times we'll be seeing if you are reading research manuscripts, you'll be seeing cross-sectional, which I think is among the commonest in terms of study designs. You also be seeing case control. You also be seeing cohorts, and then we might be wondering what they really are. So they are just the study designs, how we design our study to help us carry out this research. So study designs are basically divided into two. We have the descriptive and the analytical. So in the descriptive study design, so the descriptive we have case series and we have a descriptive surveys. So in case series, so I will give an instance. So in most of these reports that I've seen published online, so what they basically do is, especially if you're in the medical field, it was a case of I can't remember what they call this kind of pregnancy where where someone might be pregnant and they wouldn't know that they are pregnant until maybe even during labor. There's a cryptic pregnancy, yeah. So that's what they call it, cryptic pregnancy. So there was a case of cryptic pregnancy in UNTH, and it was published in a journal. So in that report, they mentioned that the lady was feeling nausea, and she reported to the hospital. And within some few hours, she gave birth. She gave birth to a baby, even though she didn't know that like she was pregnant when she came to the hospital. So when you see like those kind of articles on in a journal, you know that they are case reports because they are just trying to like describe like parameters or describe like characteristics that they identified in a particular sample uh, in a particular population or in a particular individual in a sample in a population. So if it's case report, we have like you have like a researcher trying to study a particular individual in a sample. But if it's a case series, we have many individuals or many individuals in that particular population being studied. But then when we come to analytical, it involves collecting data to quantify the variables, to quantify the relationship between variables. So if you have seen like studies that involve cross-sectional surveys or case control, you see that they are trying to, in most cases, they are trying to quantify variables. They are trying to like get data. For instance, if you are studying knowledge, attitude, and perception, you know that the data you are trying to get, you are trying to quantify how much knowledge do they have, and whether this knowledge is influencing their misuse or abuse of antimicrobials. But in descriptive research, you are just describing what you saw. So you're not trying to like analyze what you saw, or try to like, in most cases there are usually no variables for you to compare. But if it's in an analytical, we have like variables for you to compare how this particular variable is affecting the other variable. And in analytical, we have two major branches of analytical. We have the observational and we have the experimental. So in observational, you are studying a particular group, but then you are not making any intervention that will change the outcome of that group that you are trying to study. For instance, if you are conducting a survey on people's knowledge about antimicrobial resistance, and you are doing a cross-sectional survey, you are not like doing any intervention that will affect the outcome of your results. So you're not going to like say, let me teach them, especially if you're conducting it in a community. You're not going to say, let me teach them about antimicrobial resistance. If it's cross-sectional, you're not going to say, let me teach them about antimicrobial resistance so that they will be aware about antimicrobial resistance and I will get a high score that their knowledge is very, very good. So you're not going to affect the outcome. So there is no intervention from you that will affect the outcome of your results. But if it's in experimental, that's the kind of research that we usually do in the universities, whereby we try to like, for instance, if you are conducting a research on acetylcholine, using the duodenum, or trying to like find out the effects of acetylcholine on muscle relaxation or muscle contraction. So you know that you are affecting the outcome by giving that acetylcholine. But in observation, doing any intervention that will affect the outcome of your results. So under observation, now we have different study designs. We have the cross-sectional design. So cross-sectional design involves collecting data from a particular sample or a particular group at at one certain time. So it's mostly observed in the kind of research we do as undergraduates, where we share questionnaires to our classmates and ask them to fill. So once they fill the questionnaire, we go back, analyze them, and then publish our findings. So, but if opposite of cross-sectional is longitudinal, whereby you try to follow up on that on your particular uh, study. Maybe you conduct a research today to find out their perception, and then continuously you also follow up on those sample to engage them to find if there's a particular change in their trend about that knowledge or about their perception. But if it's case control, in case control, you have you are studying a particular sample against another one. For instance, you might be studying a particular sample that has tuberculosis against a sample that doesn't have um, tuberculosis. So you are trying to find out like how parameters affect them differently. But if it's in cohort study, you are studying. If it's in cohort study, it involves um, following up a particular set of people, a particular group of people over a long period of time. for you to identify any trends or changes in their parameters. Is quite different from case control, in the sense that in case control you have more of like a positive and a negative end, or a positive and a neutral end. And a perfect example, a good example of that is you have people that are affected by a particular disease, and then you have another people that are not affected by a disease, and then you are trying to like study how a particular how whatever you're trying to study affects them differently. But if it's experimental, just like I've mentioned, we have like the trials we do at the lab. It could also be like in a field. Maybe you are for those that watch like wildlife, you see them conducting like research in fields. So in those places that they are doing an intervention that will affect the outcome of their results. Um, so Emmanuel, please over to the next slide. And I can see that I can see a warning that the meeting ends in 13 minutes, so I'll be a bit faster. So there are different methods for us to know. So we have looked at study designs. So there are different methods for us to look at how we can select samples for our studies. So samples are basically, because we know that um, if we are conducting a research, it will be very, very difficult for us to reach every one of the population. So that's why they came up with sampling. Some samples are subsets of a population that have similar characteristics to the general population. So um, if you're conducting a research on individual perception about community engagement on antimicrobial resistance, it might be difficult for us to reach of the whole student in Lautech. So, but we can select like a particular group and then deduce our findings from them on the key parameters that we want to gain from our research. So in sampling method, there is something they call probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So as we know, probability has to do with um, everyone having equal opportunity of being selected. But then they have like different methods of sampling, and it involves probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So in under probability sampling, we have random sampling, whereby everyone is given equal chance of being selected. This is opposed to non-probability sampling, and it's also a bit similar to systematic sampling. So the systematic sampling usually involves um, selecting. It follows like a particular sequence of self-selecting samples. For instance, we might say, let's start with we have like a population, we have like samples, and we number them, and then we say let's start from number 5. So after number 5, we select a particular number. We say we select every sixth number, and then so once we count from number 5, the next sixth number is 6. The next after this, the next sixth number is 11th. So after 11th, the next sixth number is 17th. So we keep on counting like that. So it follows a systematic method. But if it's stratified is somewhat similar to cluster. And I wish I had enough time to use graphics to show them, but unfortunately not. So sorry about that. But so stratified sampling is very close to cluster sampling. But in stratified sampling, you bring together people that have people that have particular characteristics and merge them together. For instance, let's say that we are doing a survey, and it involves people that are wearing red, people that are wearing blue, people that are wearing green. So if we want to undergo stratified sampling, we can bring people that are wearing red differently, people that are wearing blue differently, people that are wearing green differently. And from each of them, we select particular persons, maybe one or two persons from each of this group, to represent the entire population of their own similar characteristics. So stratified usually involves people that have similar characteristics. Whereas in cluster sampling, it's not usually that way. So in cluster sampling, if you have people that are wearing green, blue, and red, you might see if they are clustered differently. If you undergo cluster sampling, you might see someone wearing red or green in a particular cluster group. So it doesn't really look at that particular characteristics. So it's more of like engaging them in clusters. So I'll be a bit faster. So um, non-probability sampling basically doesn't give everyone the chances to engage in that particular research, or give you the chance to engage everyone in that particular research, which is why they say that non-probability sampling doesn't really give a true reflection. So you cannot like deduce accurately the characteristics of the whole population if you engage in non-probability sampling. But it also has its own advantage in the sense that most times it's more convenient to do probability sampling. For instance, if you want to conduct a research on a particular set of, maybe you want to conduct a research on peace, or maybe you want to conduct a research on terrorism. So it might be difficult for you to engage people from engage Boko Harams on how they feel about terrorism, because of security issues. But then you can just pick people that are most convenient for you to reach and engage them in the discussions that you want to like engage in. The same way as purposive sampling. In purposive sampling, you are trying to pick a particular group with specific purpose. So the reason why you're picking them for your research is much more common, is much more like of your own personal it's much more of your own personal means. So maybe you are picking them because they have like a particular trait or a particular characteristics that you feel is is better for you in the work that you're going to do, in the research that you're going to do. And then if it's snowball sampling method, in snowball sampling method, a good example of where snowball sampling method can help is if you are trying to reach people that if you are trying to reach people that suffered from antimicrobial resistance, or maybe antimicrobial resistance survivors. You know that because of their to reach them openly. So you can have like maybe one person that suffered from antimicrobial resistance, and then you engage that person. That one person can help you to get another person that suffered from antimicrobial resistance, and then that one person can also help you to get another person that suffer from antimicrobial resistance. So you see that like the ball is rolling. So that's why they call it like snowball sampling method. So you may not be able to reach individually if you are to engage them, but through the means of like networking. They also call it like networking sampling method. Through the means of networking, it helps you to reach a wider audience. Next slide, Emmanuel. So we have looked at the different methods and the study designs in case if you, for those that are interested in publishing. But then if you want to publish, it's also important for you to know the different types of articles that are accepted by most journals. So the journal, the articles that are accepted by most journals, and this may not be like exhaustive of all the list of articles that they accept. First of all, we have basically primary that are stemming from your research, maybe whether you did cross-sectional questionnaire survey or whether you did lab experiments. So they are basically regarded as article or primary articles, and they usually involve
Sorry,
all
Pharmacy.
the all the all the yes.
Yes, I want to ask that is it feasible for you to finish by exactly 8 o'clock? Because the timer is probably remains 2 minutes or thereabout. So I'm not sure if probably I can generate a new link. Maybe you can join or thereabout.
Let me just try.
Okay, to finish. Okay.
Although you may not be possible, but let me try.
Okay, all right.
All right. So we also have like systematic reviews and meta-analysis, which are usually bigger and also helps like synthesize data from published articles, and it requires like lots of experience to undergo. You can also have like review articles, whereby you try to like review published articles that are published already, identify gaps, and then try to propose solution. Or you can also publish viewpoints. So the one we published, which I'll be showing next, is a viewpoint. So we just try to like share our own opinion about a particular issue. So you can also publish a case study, which we have discussed earlier. And another one that is very peculiar to Journal of Antimicrobial Chemotherapy, which is operated by BSAC, is they have educational resource reviews, where you can try to like review many educational platforms, or many platforms that offer educational resources on antimicrobial resistance. So if you're interested, you can just search educational resources reviews, JC AMR, and I believe the prompt will come up on your system. So you can also write correspondence or letter to the editor, which I found very, very important or very useful for young individuals like us that are coming up in terms of research, in terms of research writing. So they are very, very, they are much easier to write than these original articles. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't write original articles. But as a young individual that is coming up in research, you might need like more time to groom yourself, so that you don't just engage in research, but engage in impactful or meaningful research. Next slide, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, next slide. Okay, yeah. So coming up with a research idea, I think I've covered a bit of this, but so if you want to come up with a research idea, it's very important that you identify gaps. And one of the ways for you to identify gaps is reading papers and also asking questions. So sometimes this research idea could even come to you passively. You may not really be like thinking of that. It may be like something that you just observe from the environment. But if you come up with like that particular research idea, write it down and then look for works that have been done to cover that particular topic, and then think of identify gaps in some of these published articles that you want your own paper to fill. Also style your topic. Style your topic. So if you are writing, don't make your topic like boring. Try to like be creative a bit with your topic. It will help you to like um gain attract gain attention from people to read like your manuscript, and it also like tell of the importance of research. So I was saying maybe we can hold on for Emmanuel to reshare, and then we can join back again.
Okay,
So Emmanuel, I think the meeting is about.
okay. I should resend another link. So please, everyone, let's all leave the group. So I'll send a new link. When she meeting kan lọ́wọ́ ni.
for a very quick smart performance. Like I said earlier, that Akwago is one of the richest states with the very vast culture.
Hello, we are welcome back. I'm not sure if you can see my the screen.
We can see it, sir.
All right. I guess Pharmacist Kenneth, you can continue. I think
Okay.
is it is
Can you
this
hear me?
yes we can.
Okay. Yeah. So it's loading from my end. Okay. Yeah. So it's on now. So I think we are. Yeah. So this is where we are. So So I was saying, so if my own personal opinion, which may differ from others, but if I'm trying to come up with a topic, I try to like add something that is quite unfamiliar or something that everyone can relate with, and it will like grab people's attention immediately they see the paper. So when we published this article, I think because of the way the title was framed, it's like gathered lots of attention from many people, and then again, because they see it as something that they can relate with, because the issue that we discussed there about patent medicine vendors um, giving suboptimal doses of antimicrobials to people, which may also be influenced by lack of knowledge, and also lack of money. So people like felt like they can relate to that kind of topic, and also found the title very creative and innovative. So if like you want to like come up with a research idea that we like, have enough have like enough visibility, or also describe the kind of like creativeness or creativity that you as a writer in the paper that you are writing. Although most times or sometimes it depends on journal specifics. So, but it's also like a way of getting people's attention or writing. Also, if you're writing a research, especially in terms of like antimicrobial resistance or addressing issues concerning antimicrobial resistance, it's very important to use data to strengthen your arguments. So you don't just go around saying that antimicrobial resistance is a burden in across the world or across the globe. So you all of us know that that is true. But when you quantify the data, you can say that bacterial AMR killed nearly 5 million people in 2019. So using data, you can quantify your research, or you can even quantify your claim. So when you say that antimicrobial resistance killed more people than malaria, HIV, and the rest, it's true. But if you use data to quantify this, it's also like create a perfect picture of the importance of the weight of the challenge that you are trying to address. And then again, so if you're writing, there are some kind of articles that you might be interested in writing, that you might be interested I might be interested in writing, that will require you to reach out to the editors first before publishing or before submitting your articles. So if you are writing like a correspondence, which is also called letter to the editor, or if you are writing a perspective, or if you are writing a viewpoint for the Journal of Antimicrobial Chemotherapy, which is the first one here that you are seeing. So if you're writing, if you want to write to them concerning this kind of articles, which are very very simple, about 800 words, and I feel like that's a good place that all of us can start in our research journey. So if you want to write this kind of articles to them, you reach out to the journals first, to the journal editor first, and then you inform the editor about the article that you want to write and publish in their journal. So they can help you to refine the topic to make it like more suitable for publication, and they can also give you like directives on how you can better frame it, if you want to like publish with them, or how you can better frame it to ensure fluency in the message that you are trying to pass. Another thing I found very useful is inviting contributors. So of like research writing. So it's very very important for us to like leverage the network that we have to come up with a very good or a very impactful article. I know some of us have like issues in terms of like writing, and most times even if you don't have issue with writing, there is this kind of like self dependency that you are too good with your writing, but then you don't, and that's kind of like that's kind of would I call it courage, or would I call it like um maybe let me call it courage, or that kind of like um I'm too good will occlude your eye. It will stop you from seeing like tiny tiny mistakes that you make in your own paper. So that's why it's good that whenever you write, you give it out to like people to help you review your article. So you invite people that you know that have better experience than you in terms of like research writing, to increase the fluency, and also to help you like to write something that is less stressful for you. Because one of the limitations or one of the challenges that we face as young people writing engaging in research is when you receive rejection like 3 times in a row, you start having this kind of thought that maybe you don't write well, or maybe research writing is not for you. But if you have like proper guidance, or people that are guiding you in your research, you see that research is something that it's quite easier than we think, and it's also something that is self-fulfilling. And also, if you're going to write, it's always good to look out for that journal that you are interested in publishing, first of all, and then follow their instructions to write, and then make sure that you are following everything in terms of referencing, in terms of how your fonts should be, in terms of how intake citations should be done, in terms of what should be included in the article or manuscript that you're submitting. So always make sure that, for me, whenever I come up with a research article or a research that I want to do, the first thing I will do is to look out for that particular journal that I want to publish in, and then follow their instructions. So because it's quite difficult for you to like write, and then you're not even considering considerations, the number of word count that is required, the referencing style, and the rest. And then when you're done writing and you submit to a journal and they ask you to revise and then change to another referencing style, reduce the word counts, do a lot of
Possession of their
changes.
health,
So it
taking
becomes
what
like
belongs
very,
to
very
them
difficult,
back
even though we
out
have
of the
like
prayer
men
of the
daily.
man
But
of God.
all these
As
things
we
can
bring
be
you these
overcome
testimonies,
if you quickly or easily go to that particular journal that you're interested in writing, follow up their instructions, and then write meticulously, with scope that if you write well, definitely your paper is going to be accepted. So far, it's filling in a gap that is necessary, or is telling stories, or is highlighting key challenges that needs to be tackled. Next slide, slums. Just like I mentioned earlier, our article that is under review, even though it has been published as a preprint, um where we try to like highlight issues about antimicrobial resistance in slums. So one thing that I also like to like mention is that it's not about the quantity but about the quality. And it's not just about publishing, but the publications that you are making, are they making an impact, or are they addressing like key challenges that needs to be addressed. So one thing I found about research in AMR is more of like it's an advocacy work. So the same way that we go to the communities and advocate against irresponsible use of antimicrobials, so that's the same way that we try to use research to highlight significant gaps that policymakers can identify and fill. So it's more about quality than quantity. And if you are trying to write on antimicrobial resistance, look for those issues that needs to be addressed. Maybe you are a lecturer and you are more involved in um, you are more involved in drug development. So you look for like that particular like trends that's, or look for that particular thing that will make your work innovative. So it's not just about publishing, writing, but making impactful publications that will help us to address significant gaps in terms of antimicrobial resistance. Next slide. Next slide, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know part of the expectations for the session was how we can boost visibility um, of our work, of the papers that we publish. So this is a paper paper by Yusuf Adebisi. I think most of us here we know him. A graduate of University of Ibadan and Oxford University. So just the same thing I keep on saying about like publishing works that are relatable and also addresses like significant challenges that are very common but often neglected in our communities. So this paper, antimicrobial resistance and people living with disabilities. So he identified that people living with with disabilities are often neglected in terms of policies or in terms of like intervention that's borders around addressing antimicrobial resistance. So even if you look at global leaders on in terms of antimicrobial resistance response, you see that people there, most people there, we have like a very low representation of people that are living with disabilities making policies about antimicrobial resistance or even about many other public health challenges. So this is a very strong issue or a very strong gap or challenge that he identified and he wrote on it. And then again, if you want to make your work visible or much boost visibility, it's always important to publish in reputable journals. So you don't just like engage in research so that you say that you have like 50 publications. I think it's better to have like publications, even if it's 5 publications, but they are in a very high impact, peer reviewed, reputable journals than saying that you have 50 publications in journals that most times you are the one paying them to publish. They don't even have any, they're not even indexed, or they don't even have like, they are just there for you to publish and feel like you have publications. So if you are publishing, always target high impact journals and reputable journals. And even though some of these journals will require you to pay, but then look at their APC and also look whether these APCs are they have like waiving options. I know that some of these journals have if you come from low and middle income countries, they will tell you that they will publish them for free. A good example is Pharm journal. So you look at those things to see if the journal is offering free publications to you according to your geographical. Those high impact journals, they are usually the ones that are easier to publish in because most times they may not really be resource setting, but to publish so that because they are make research publications equitable to everyone. So they want you to publish in their journal. But sometimes because of fear that maybe the work we did is not big enough, that they will reject it, then we tend to like go for lesser journals. But if you want to boost the visibility of your work, always try to publish in journals that are reputable and indexed in most scholarly database. And also digital footprint. So if whether you have started publishing or whether you have started publishing, always create a Gates account. It will help you to like track of your activities and also help you to like organize your work and also create a footprint in terms of it will create like a score for you that can also help you to know how much you to like organize your work and to create a digital footprint for yourself as a researcher and also boost the visibility of your work. Also leverage the power of a good title and make your work relatable. People tend to like read the work that they find relatable. So if your title is very relatable, it will also increase the visibility of your work. And also always share your work with your network, whether on social media or whether your peers in the university or any place that we have a platform to share your work. Always endeavor to share your work, because by sharing it, people become more aware and they can also read, learn from you, and also cite your articles. Next slide, Emmanuel. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is just when we were writing. So the one by the right, the one by the right without any red coloring on it, is the the letter we wrote to the editor. Because I mentioned that if you are trying to write to editors, if you are trying to like write a particular manuscript, more of like letter to the editor, um letter to the editor or perspective or viewpoints, they will require you to reach out to the editor to inform him or her about the work they are trying to publish in their journal. So these are some of um the letters that we wrote to the editor. And if you're writing to the editor to inform them that you want to publish, it's always good that you create the urgency of the work that you are trying to publish. So if you read here, you see where we mentioned um about patent medicine dealers and how their practices is promoting or proliferating the spread of antimicrobial resistance. So you try to create or inform them about the challenge that are trying to write about, and then inform them about how your paper is addressing this particular challenge. And I think for you to end it, you also like try to acknowledge their journal, that their journal is doing well, and you would like for your paper to be published in that journal, because it will increase the of your paper, and it will help it to reach a bigger audience, not just like individuals, but bigger audience in the sense of like policymakers or stakeholders that can learn from the work that you have done and provide solutions that will help to address the challenges that you have raised. So I think it's a bit blurry, but you can go through, you can check how we framed the cover letter that we have written. And I think if you adopt the same strategy while writing to the editors, they will always reply you, because they will see the need of them accepting your proposal to write that particular article and give you a go ahead. So I think the next slide is just basically ending it all. So yes, thank you for listening. So this is where I end the presentation, and thank you everyone for listening, and apologies for the glitches in that had forced us to use another meeting link. So sorry about that. And over to you, Emmanuel. And thank you for the invite.
Thank you so very much, sir. This is so fantastic. You did it much more than what I actually envisaged or what I actually expected. Like, you, I actually love when one presents and relates it to your individual experience, so that people can learn from it. And I believe it has been a fantastic journey thus far. You gave an accurate presentation and related it to what you experienced, really, so that people can gain a lot from it. So this is where we draw the curtain. I'm not sure if we have questions. If we don't, so I can just call it a day. You have questions? Anyone? Have a question? Just raise your hands or just unmute yourself. Okay. Is there anyone with any questions? Okay. So I would love to ask a question. I would love to ask that the letter to be submitted that is submitted to the editor, was it to ask for an application review waiver, or just for the journal, for the paper to be accepted by the journal? That's my question. Or is it possible to write a letter asking for an application review waiver explaining
Okay,
and co.
okay, okay. Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel. So the interesting part of it is that if you are writing a letter to the editor, in almost all the journals, they are free. So irrespective of where you are coming from, so letters to the editors are usually free. So you may not necessarily need to write to the editor article processing waiver. Can you hear me?
Okay. Uh, I could hear you, but I'm not
Yes.
sure. Okay. Are you saying that we can, when we send it, they will actually grant us an application review waiver when we send the letter?
Exactly, exactly. So these two journals, this first one here that I seen is public health challenge journal. So for letter to the editors, the is free, so they will publish it for free for you. And also this JAC AMR, their publications for researchers from sub-Saharan Africa. I think generally sub-Saharan Africa is free of charge, so you can publish in
J
those in the journal free of charge.
JAC. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So you can publish in the journal free of charge. So for most journals, if you're writing like a letter to the editor, it's free of charge. But then again, if you're writing if you're writing, maybe you're writing like a commentary, or you're writing an original article or systematic review. So some of those journals, they have even if they have APC, there might be an option in the author guidelines of their journals. There will be an option where you will see that if your article is accepted and you're from so particular region, you can apply for a waiver. So if you see that in the author guideline of that particular journal, so always feel free to submit to them. So if your article is accepted, you can always apply for you can always apply for a waiver. But the email that I have here, that I have attached here, are not they are not for APC charge waiver. To inform editor that submitting a particular article to a particular script to them, detail what we want to submit to inform them about the need of us publishing in their journal. We create visibility of our manuscript to global readers, like profess solutions or institutionalized point address this challenge. So what we just have is just about our intention of submitting particular article. So the waiver, that option in many for waiver after your article. Did you get me, Emmanuel?
Yes, I get you. I get you now. I get you now.
All
I get
right.
you now. Thanks a lot. Thanks
Okay.
a lot, sir. That was a perfect
Okay.
response.
You're always
Thanks a lot. Okay. So I really want to, or we really want to thank and appreciate each and every one of us for joining tonight, and want to wholeheartedly thank pharmacist Kenneth Egwu for giving his time um to be a part of this particular um presentation, and also to us, probably we're students. I'm not sure. I know we have a lot of people on the group. There are doctors there, there are professors there. Okay, I really want to appreciate each and every one of us who probably were students and you are studying a life science course. Please and please, it's like as if I'm begging you. Please try and have a paper. Please try and have a paper. That's how you can live. That's how you can be above your colleagues and you won't be in the mayor of probably there's no job in Nigeria or something like that, yeah. So it opens you to a lot of opportunities aside from the contribution you'll be making to the scientific body as a whole. So you be uh above your colleagues, or let me just put it that way. Okay, so you have something at least above them. So that's showing you that when you get your 500 level, endeavor to write a paper, so that, and if you're a recent graduate also, endeavor to write a paper. You can just sit down, think, okay, so that the benefits are huge. I can tell you that the benefits are huge. Aside from the contribution to scientific body, even to your personal self, the benefits are so huge. Pharmacist Kenneth can share you that he won a particular grant, and then and a grant leads to another grant, and that's you contributing to humanity also. So you won't just study that course and then you are saying, this course is useless, this course is this. Please and please try and make something bountiful from your course. I can share you my experience. The paper that I wrote in my favorite level myself, I just sat down and I just thought about it, the relation between AMR and climate change. I think I've shared it on this platform before. So the paper was selected for a presentation at the Nigerian Academy of Science conference that will be holding next year. And the conference will be held in for another presentation. So it will be held in Abuja Continental Hotel. So and the accommodation will be paid for and will be for 2 nights. And I think they said one night at that particular hotel is around 250,000 naira or thereabout. So for 2 nights. So it's not even about the enjoyment or thereabout, but at least it exposes you to a lot of things, and then you meet with a lot of people. If you see the speakers that are there, and I will also be part of the oral presenter. So you'll be able to network with other people, and from there, you don't know who might meet with you, and then you'll be lifted up. Okay, and I believe it's every one of our wish that we are up there. So thanks a lot for joining. I really want to appreciate you, and also really want to appreciate Pharmacist Kenneth. So I will request from him if the presentation slides can be sent. So and I'll give you a feedback of his response. So thank you so very much. Do have a lovely night rest. Goodbye.